Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Hearts of Iron 4 Dev Diary. It has been 2 Dev Diaries late since last we spoke, as I unfortunately haven't had time to cover the previous 2 with the changes to the schedule and things not quite going right this cycle. Never mind, at least there is time today for us to talk about the new art and achievements coming to Graveyard of Empires. So, let's take a quick sprint looking over some of the new art coming in the DLC before we break down the achievements. Are they easy, medium, hard, or World Conquest? Please don't be World Conquest. Our Dev Diary begins with an interesting kind of top-line banner image of a paradox stone cast in the sand. This Dev Diary is led by one of the artists, Marble Madness, one word, who seem to have made some good stuff since Gotterdammerung. So let's see what they've made today. I won't be covering the art too extensively because it is ultimately just some pictures and not too much on the game content, but we do get to look at some bright, interesting colours. Persia having its national colours represented with Iran, and some Zoroastrian iconography, as well as a nice train going over a bridge. Below that we have some British Raj focuses, which seems to be a great deal to do with tea. I see drinking tea, a very domineering Indian globe looking art, as well as the sun setting. So maybe the empire doesn't last forever if the sun finally sets. Of this lot, I think my favourite has to be the one in the bottom left. He looks so trendy with his hat, kind of like an Indian the Thinker. Afghanistan takes the crown though as having the best focus art, as they come with a sheep. I mean, that's it, they've won hands down, they just have the sheep one. But they also have a very menacing looking man as one of the central icons, as well as a lot of army based focuses. I mean, there's 5 there alone, so very militant looking paths. And lastly on the bottom we have the Iraq focuses. Most notably we have the Hashemite kingdom on the top left as a unified Arabian peninsula, but also some other stuff including the Iraqi state railways. Supply is everything after all. Next up, we have portraits, and I have to say, I feel like this time, these are very, very good, just in terms of quality. Starting off with Persia, look at the Shah in the top right, the lighting, the skin tone shift across his face, and of course the individual hairs. The hat and outfit looks fantastic across the board. I don't know, I feel like the quality of portraits in this DLC could be some of the best they've ever done. Moving on down to India, we have on the bottom left what can only be one of the monarchs of the princely states. Is it Gurjabat? Nah, can't be. Tell me who you think that is. I can't remember who it is. But look at the individual ornaments on each piece of the headwear. All there, all lit, all nicely put together. Flipping over to the right, the beard on that man is magnificent. You can see the strands of hair. I mean, it's all great. Down the road we have Afghanistan, and their leaders, while not as magnificent, do certainly have some interesting characters. Top right, we've got a man what appears to be wearing a German helmet, so probably some overlap with hiring German generals or expertise. To the left of him we've got what I think is an admiral with some remarkable ears, and below that a former Khan who might be making a comeback this time around. On the sort of up next to the admiral on the left, who is this guy? He gives me Mujahideen kind of victory in the guerrilla warfare category. Maybe. And lastly, we have the Iraqi portraits, which all look rather, well, Iraqi. I can't escape thinking that every single person I see seems to have a mustache. It's just all mustaches across the board, although one of them, maybe a couple of them, should be a little bit cautious about the type of mustache they're sporting. The loading screen for Graveyard of Empires now shows some infantry moving through what looks to be, I think that's Persian ruins. Old Persian ruins, just by the creature in the foreground giving me sort of a mythological, Minotaur-esque vibe. In honesty, this doesn't really have the same impact as Gotterdammerung. I think Gotterdammerung's sort of loading art is probably the best they've ever done, just because of the sheer impact it has, which kind of makes me feel like it would be good if there was an option to be able to choose the background on game start, you know? It feels like a small thing, just you have all of the different versions they've done, so you can just pick one and that will be the one when you load in. Maybe that's just an idea, but something I was thinking about. As usual, I don't have too much to comment on the 3D models, but they are looking decently good across the board. I like this character here, who seems to be fighting with some very guerrilla warfare. Downstairs, we've got very Germanic looking characters too, and a guy who I think is some kind of cowboy in the Australian outback of some sorts. That is not to say there won't be some interesting armour added to the game, in the form of whatever the monstrosity is in the bottom right that feels like it's one landmine away from complete and utter disaster, as well as the very small Babino on the top left that almost looks like it's got the front of a tractor or something attached to the front with two miniature guns. It's interesting. I wonder how much utility that really had. Additionally coming to Graveyard of Empires are also going to be 3 new landmarks in the form of the Hagia Sophia, the Saddabad complex, and the Taj Mahal. So that's going to be Turkey getting some content, which is kind of interesting to see, an unexpected bonus, as well as what I think is the Palace of the Tehran monarchy, so that's Persia getting something, or Iran, and then the Taj Mahal is of course for India. Oh, and we get another look at the elephant. We saw the elephant last time in Alt History, but there he is again, and it looks like he has sad eyes. Why are the eyes so sad? Oh. Okay, it's time for what we've all been waiting for, judging the achievements of Graveyard of Empires. So, let's get straight into it. Are they easy, medium, hard, or world conquest? We start off with the, well, Graveyard of Empires. As Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq, or the Raj control all the other free nations' cores. I think this is a good idea for an achievement because it really is a good way to just sum up the entire DLC within one idea. Interact with all the other places that got content in this DLC. Since India is probably the strongest of all of those nations from game start, you just need to get independence, I'm going to guess that going fast or as India, maybe the Mughals, and moving west is probably the easiest way to get this achievement. For that reason, maybe dealing with Iraq could be annoying, but Persia and Afghanistan aren't even guaranteed by anybody, so I'm going to give this a medium. Hopefully not too bad a medium. This achievement is dedicated to the brave soldiers who watched Rocky free. As Afghanistan capitulate the Soviet Union, so as the Mujahideen, I suppose, you have to cap the Soviet Union, waiting for Germany to begin their war against the Soviets and then helping them later on with enough build-up should make this not the most insane of challenges. The Germans will be doing most of the heavy lifting, you just need to focus on encirclements and make sure you build supply. I guess for that reason it's going to be a medium. As for the thematics of the achievement, well, I think the art is funny, if nothing else. I have the high ground. As Afghanistan control all Himalayan states. Perhaps a reference to Star Wars there, can't be too sure, but controlling all Himalayan states, that's a bit more annoying. What are we defining as the Himalayas? Because, okay, Tibet, Nepal, Bhutan and India, sure, but does moving into Yan'an count? Like, when does the Himalayas end in terms of Hoi For's perspective? Do we go into Burma? I can't really tell. If we have to go after China as well, god, that could be quite annoying. Maybe somewhere between medium to hard, maybe slightly edging it towards hard for me. Although to be fair, you do get those mountaineers, maybe that makes it a lot easier. Pesky Greeks. As Iran become the owner of all Greek core states. Alright, so we're getting some revenge for the Battle of Thermopylae in what is ultimately probably just going to be you versus the Allies. I mean, having to go through the Middle East and then pushing through Turkey might end your war with the Axis, but if you joined the Axis, hard to say, and then Greece joins the Allies anyway, so it's a conflict with the Allies. For that reason, depending on your ability to deal with the Allies, probably in, again, the high mediums, maybe hard depending on if you're struggling with manpower, terrain. It's always hard to know how the focuses will actually play out. Probably going to be a medium though. The Sands of Time. As Iran owned the entire Middle East. Interesting achievement here, because it feels like you could do this with pesky Greeks, and I would even argue this is easier than pesky Greeks. This is probably in the mediums, and depending on how strong and how quickly you can snowball, it might even be an easy achievement. Yeah, I would say you're probably going to get the Sands of Time on your way to getting pesky Greeks. The legacy of Cyrus the Great. As Iran become the owner of the former Achaemenid Empire states. Okay, are these 3 achievements not all the same kind of playthrough? I feel you could line all of these up. If the Sands of Time could be easy and pesky Greeks could be medium, then I guess this one is going to be hard. That's kind of the progression from 1 to 2 to 3. I'm sure Cyrus the Great would be proud. From Tehran with love. As Iran, guarantee Poland's independence and ensure it does not capitulate by 1945. Okay, on gut reaction, that's going to be hard because, I don't know, qualifying the AI's failures could be very annoying. Being able to get volunteers into Poland fast enough to help them hold out. Yeah, I'm going to say that one's going to be hard. Maybe a little bit too hard, but hey, exploits usually find a way around things, right? Oh, and it's most likely a reference to James Bond from Russia with Love, judging by the art. The Cradle of Civilization. As Iraq, build the maximum infrastructure level in all core states and achieve 100% stability. Okay, so that's pretty easy. That's just build infrastructure from game start and then spend 100 political power to boost stability, right? That's it. It's just good business. As the East India Company owns Suez and Panama, because the East India Company has the ability to just buy states from nations, it could be the case that this achievement is easy, it's just going to take a long time and maybe involves RNG. And so for that reason it could be annoying and becomes a medium, but probably somewhere in that key. Easy if it's easy, and if it's frustratingly long or RNG based, push it up to a medium. But we do love a good reference to Pirates of the Caribbean. Beckett there would be proud. Medium Mughal. As the Mughal Empire complete agency upgrade psychological warfare, become spy master, and have at least 8 operatives. So this is an India achievement, and I'm just wondering, in terms of faction capacity, your best bet is probably to join the Allies. But can the Mughals join the Allies? I have no idea. I suppose if you justify on Germany, or maybe try and keep your tension down and then become spy master that way, you could use the spies of your allies. So maybe joining the Allies as the Mughals is the best bet. Probably making this easy then, because there's no indication that you have to get yourself into trouble. Oh, how the turntables! As India, puppet the UK with Churchill as its leader. Based upon the sheer distance you have to get there and the timeline in which you have to get to Britain, keeping in account the French, British and American Navy, I'm probably going to stick this on hard. Compared to the other achievements I've seen in here, this is, I'd say this is among the hardest we've seen thus far. It does not, however, suggest world conquest, because working alongside Germany is entirely possible, and with that you can use them as a staging port to naval invade or paradrop Britain. So yeah, it's not necessarily completely lost, just kind of likely lost. I'm just passing by. Own a state on each continent while being at peace. Okay, I think the description for this one is wrong. It has to be wrong. I think it says playing as India, own a state in each continent while being at peace, just because the art appears to be somebody from India. Because if it isn't, it's going to be Britain hit on pause. Britain owns a state in every single continent, as far as I remember, so 1936 January you can get this achievement. Playing as India though, that's going to be a little bit more annoying. Tied up with the achievement above, if you just conquer Britain and take one state from each of their possessions, you're done. So if it was hard to do it with Britain, it's going to be hard to do it with India, bordering on world conquest, but I don't think it is world conquest. If you can take down Britain alone, then it's just hard on its own. That's sick. As Khalistan, control all the starting Raj states. Okay, I like this. I like it when a micronation has to form a bigger nation or work towards it. All I hope is there is an option for the princely states to form formable nation India. We have it with Germany, we missed out with Italy, oh so painful, but we missed out with Italy, so maybe we can get it with India's princely states. Control all the Raj states and then you get that Sikh as well as an Indian formable. Taking that into account, because it's basically you versus India, it's kind of a 1v1 and you have the opportunity to set yourself up for that victory. So you could make it, for example, as, I don't know, Britain, and then you annex India, and then you release all the princely states, play as Khalistan, and then work your way through there. Alternatively, playing as India, you may be able to just release all the nations yourself, severely harm your nation's economy, and then have an easy annexation. I can see a few ways that this would be quite possible, so I'm going to give it a prospective easy, with the potential that it could be a medium if things go wrong. Oil sheiks. As Iraq have 500 oil production. Oh, I don't have the mathematics for this because we have no idea what the new resource distribution is going to be like. This one is a mystery and might actually be like world conquest level problems depending on how things go down. If there is enough oil in the Middle East with the option for you to take Azerbaijan and some other Russian oil producing states, maybe it's possible to get 500 oil. We simply don't know what a 1945 Excavation 5 tech is going to look like. But my goodness, I really doubt it. And that means having to find the oil elsewhere, which might mean invading America for Texas and Oklahoma. Oh, it sounds like a nightmare. It's probably going to be hard, but it really could be world conquest. I just don't know what resource tables are going to look like in the next DLC. It's a mystery. Revenge for 1925. As Iraq form the Hashemite Arab Federation and defeat Saudi Arabia. So defeating Saudi Arabia isn't the hard part here, that's actually easy. The question is how easy it is to form the Hashemite Arab Federation. I was under the impression that it had something to do with the Allies, giving you the territory and allowing you to form it while being in the Allies. If that's the case, then this could be a very easy achievement, just literally no resistance whatsoever. If the Allies resist, I think you could bump this up to a medium, but my concerns for defeating Saudi Arabia are somewhere between 0 and 0. Avenging the sack of Baghdad. That is quite the burning building there, isn't it? As Iraq control the capital of Mongolia. Well, it's good to see that we don't hold a grudge with a yurt being there. Maybe that's the CK3 community reacting negatively to the next DLC. Sorry. In all seriousness though, this is probably a medium achievement because it is ultimately Iraq versus the Soviets, and as I mentioned earlier, the Germans can do most of the heavy lifting. You just need to be quick sniping Mongolia in the peace treaty. That's it. That's all it comes down to. I shall either find a way or make one. Control Rome and have an elephant unit in the state. So assuming that India is the only nation that has access to elephants, we can think that this is going to involve taking... Oh, now let's think about this, because I was going to say, being in the Allies, you just need to invade Italy, and then all should be well. However, because of the civil war mechanic in Italy, when does anybody ever own Italy? They just become a puppet, and for that reason, that could be really annoying. So maybe it's the case that you should start the naval invasion of Rome very early on, and just have an elephant unit waiting in maybe Corsica or Malta, and then once Rome has been taken, ask for it if you've got the war score, or just make sure you're the one who's done it, and then get the elephant unit in there. I don't necessarily think it's crazy difficult, it's probably a medium in terms of what it's asking you, but because of the finicky mechanics, you might find yourself being robbed, and that would be quite annoying. So yeah, a solid medium, I think. And finally, Saviour of the Holy Lands. As Afghanistan become the owner of Palestine and Mecca. Okay, so Afghanistan here becoming owner, not control, owner, is a bit more annoying. Being able to own Mecca shouldn't be too difficult because Saudi Arabia isn't guaranteed by anybody and they're a cakewalk to annex, so I'm not worried about that. However, Palestine is currently owned by Britain, which means piecing out Britain and then demanding Palestine in the peace conference. So unless that focus tree has a way to peacefully get Palestine without any conflict, which I don't think it does, this could be quite an annoying one, which instantly sticks as hard that becoming the saviour is not so straightforward. And so that brings us to the end of this achievement dev diary. For the most part, I actually don't think they're too bad. It's pretty much mediums across the board. They usually involve you only having to fight one major. There are a few exceptions, and stuff where you have to invade Britain, which involves crossing most of Europe, is kind of annoying. But for the most part, okay. Going forward as per the schedule, there are actually no more dev diaries until the release of the DLC on March 4th. So this is the last time I'll be covering it. Not too many dev diaries this time, but not necessarily my fault. Hopefully, I should have a video on the release day of the DLC covering something in Graveyard of Empires. Most likely India, I think, if I get round to it. With that being said, if you're looking forward to that or other content, then feel free to like, feel free to subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!